Wayne Turmel is the co-founder and product line manager of the Remote Leadership Institute, an organization committed to helping people around the world develop the skills to sell, train, present, and lead people and projects using web meeting, webinar, and virtual presentations tools. His books include The Long Distance Leader, Rules for Remarkable Remote Leadership, co-written with Kevin Eikenberry, who's your business partner. Is he?
He's actually my boss, believe it or not.
Okay, well, that's another story. We don't have to go into detail. And his next book is Meet Like You Mean It, A Leader's Guide to Painless and Productive Virtual Meetings. And ASTD, or now it's ATD, 10 Steps to Successful Virtual Presentations. His articles appear in print and online, and they include Training and Development Magazine, CBS Business, BNET, the Huffington Post, and for over 10 years, the management-issues.com website. Wayne has over 20 years of experience in the corporate training and professional development field, including as the director of faculty for Communispond, one of the world's premier communication skills training companies. He built GreatWebMeetings.com into a premier virtual communication skills company in the world before joining Kevin Eikenberry, his boss, before joining the Kevin Eikenberry Group to form the Remote Leadership Institute. Wayne, so good to see you.
Wow, I'm exhausted just listening to that.
Okay.
I must be an impressive
Thanks for the interview.
person.
Anyway, no, I'm done. With all of your background and with all of this time spent, not only keeping your skills up to date and keeping your processes and best practices and all this stuff on the cutting edge of online and virtual meetings and web meetings and all of this stuff being pushed out, is this moment in time when basically everybody's online, when everybody's running online meetings, when everybody's trying to do online training, is this sort of one of those sweet or bittersweet I told you so moments in your life?
Yeah, I feel a little bit like the guy in the sandwich board who's been for years walking up and down the street saying the end is near.
Right.
And over the last week or so, particularly, you want to switch boards and say, told you. It feels a little bit like that. We go through these things in life. I can remember 20 years ago having to walk training companies and companies through this crazy thing called PowerPoint and moving from, 35 millimeter slides
Sure.
and overhead transparencies to presenting from a computer, and there was wailing and gnashing of teeth.
Sure.
And suddenly everybody was doing it.
Sure.
And that's kind of exactly, it's not even kind of, it's exactly the same moment
Right.
that we're having with virtual meetings. It's like we were pushing up against the wall,
Right.
and suddenly, the 100th monkey has adopted
I know.
the tool, and here we are.
Right. I have a question for you. I know you're deeply involved in assisting folks with this challenge that's going on right now. In your mind, what's going right and what's going wrong with this tidal wave of online communication and education?
What's going right, and it went right more at the beginning, and we're now starting to see the cracks, is that a lot of work that they didn't think could be done remotely, people were getting it done. It was like organizations that thought we always had to be co-located. Darned if work isn't getting done, and darned if people aren't working when they're not being supervised, and that kind of thing. And I think some of that was because everybody had this sense of we're all in it together. These are crazy times. Let's suck it up. Let's do it. And it's amazing when people actually try.
Right. So everybody's sort of rowing in the same direction. Those first couple weeks, it's like, we can do it.
Exactly. And then over the last couple of weeks, I've seen a little bit of fraying at the edges, some of it through pure physical exhaustion.
Sure.
Some, we're starting to hear terms like Zoom fatigue. It was funny, 6 weeks, 3 or 4 months ago, half the world hadn't even heard of Zoom, and now we're already tired of it.
Right.
So there's been this kind of watershed moment. So I think on the positive side, we've demonstrated that it's doable, and a lot of people are getting it done, despite all kinds of handicaps. People don't have dedicated workspaces. They're sharing their homes with spouses and kids and Lord knows what. And yet stuff is getting done. Maybe not the way we wanted it to, but so it can be done at some basic reptilian brain level. We can get the work done. That's great. We're also starting to see some of the less great things. Supervisors who don't really know what they're doing, and they're flailing a little bit. People who are using the tools at kind of a basic competency level, but not maximizing them. So we're working harder than we have to. And so, like every moment, there are good and bad things.
Of course.
And my favorite part of this is that anybody who predicted what this would look like has been completely wrong.
Oh, yeah. Right. Here we are. It's like the analogy I use sometimes is when I was a kid growing up, I always wanted to go to Disney World to see Tomorrowland. You know what I mean? Because it was this sort of like future, what the future is going to be like, And now if you go to Tomorrowland, you notice it's not what the future is going to be like. It's sort of this steampunky, high adventure. You know what I mean? They gave up on the future because the future was evolving so rapidly, they couldn't keep up with it.
Well, I remember the moment several years ago that I knew the world had changed forever and had become like the Jetsons. For those of us old enough to remember the Jetsons,
I know.
when Oprah explained how every housewife in America could make unlimited anywhere on the planet video calls with this tool called Skype for free. And I mean, when we were kids, that was science fiction, man. That was.
Yep. Exactly.
And here we are.
Here we are. Listen, just to wrap this up, I'm going to ask you the question I ask everybody, which is, Wayne, what lessons have we learned or are we learning right now that we must not forget?
I think the single most important lesson is that no matter how we work, whether we are all co-located, whether we have teams that are half and half, or whether we are completely remote, isolation is really bad for human beings, for teams, and productivity. And we need to be very proactive and mindful about building and maintaining relationships so that we don't just go down the individual task rabbit hole.
Exactly. That's great. Wayne, I appreciate you taking time out for your busy Las Vegas day to spend some time with me.
It's early in the day here, man. Your day's half done.
I know, pretty much. Have a good one.
You too, Dave.